My name is Julie McCoy. I am a proud mother of a 26-year-old young man who has developmental disabilities. My son has taught me many important life lessons, and because of him, I have become an advocate for him and many of our friends and families who can also relate to the developmentally disabled. This is our reality. This is our story we want to share. We want you to familiarize yourself with our faces and our struggles. We want you to remember all of us. My son Nolan has been diagnosed with Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, an intractable seizure disorder. We have spent countless hours in the hospital, and to make a very long story short, he has had half of his brain removed. The right hemisphere has been removed except for the right hemispherectomy, with the motor strip left in. It has taken a village to raise my son through family, friends, school, Woodland Developmental Center. Each family I am going to show faces different struggles. For example, Gio DeGregory and his mom, Michelle Phillips, face many everyday struggles.
We've had a rough road, been a long rough road, been in the hospital a lot and things like that. He was actually born with Apert syndrome. He actually used to go over next door to Woodland School, and then he got sick a lot, so he would miss a lot of school. We'd be in the hospital a lot, and then he got better and he would go there for a while, and then probably about 8 years ago he started having really bad seizures. So now he's 24-hour care, and you have to help him on the toilet, you have to dress him, you have to feed him, like I say, wipe him, all that kind of stuff. He doesn't like big crowds. He gets scared when there's a lot of people around. Then there's another one called Bright Futures, and that one is more like they try to get him out into the community a little bit more, a little involved and things like that, because it's really hard. Like for me, he won't go to the grocery store with me. He won't do anything with me. He just wants to stay home, and that's where he wants to be. At home, he just wants to be left alone, and so that's why, again, if it was up to, he just wants to be left alone in his room, but by going to the program, that's the only thing that gets him out of the house, to get around other people. But like I say, it's like once you put him on that bus to go to the program, you're like, I'm telling you, there's been days I just go back to bed because I'm so tired, because I can't sleep because I'm just worried he's going to have one. Or if they have a fever, you're scared to death, because that'll cause one, or if they're sick. And so it's such a relief to, once he's on that bus, it's, even though you still worry, it's like, okay, it's their responsibility right now. I can be a human.
Along with Gio, Everett DeHadway and his parents, Jim and Cheryl, are greatly affected by Everett's disability.
He's 22 years old. Cognitively speaking, he's at the age of 2 years of age. He still wears diapers. He still needs assistance eating. He has a scoliosis, which results in about a 40% curvature in his spine, so he's kind of hunched over that way, and he's small for his age. He only weighs about 60 pounds. Pretty much, he started walking when he was 8 years old, which was a godsend, he could walk. He started getting a little heavy to lift around. Mm-hmm. And like I say, other than that, that's his life is going to, staying home with us and doing things with us, and attending school. He loves school. That's if you want to get him out of bed in the morning, you just tell him the bus is coming, and his feet hit the floor. He loves socializing with his friends, and like I say, that's pretty much his life. Life 24/7 is on a schedule, 365 days a year.
That is not your own schedule.
No, it's not our own schedule. I don't see him ever working I can't imagine an employer in the world that would hire an employee who needs assistance changing his diaper, who needs to be fed, let alone he has a 40% curvature in his spine, but he can't. The one joy he does get out of life is going to an activity, going out with his friends. It might be sitting and coloring in a coloring book with his friends, but that gives him a little joy. Both of us have worked our entire life. We've paid taxes. I'm a veteran myself. I spent 13 years in the military, 6 in the Air Force and 7 in the Army. His sisters were both Iraq veterans. We've paid our dues to this country. And I think the least they can do is give a little joy here to our son when he needs a little bit of help.
Linda Bagaski and her daughter Jacqueline Paling face many everyday struggles as well. Jacqueline is nonverbal and diagnosed with autism.
There was not a program out there for Jacqueline. Most of them that I saw were something that would put her in the middle of having a behavior. Behaviors come with her when she is not happy, when she doesn't understand what's expected of her. She goes out 4 days a week with a worker. She takes art classes here and there. She goes and does things that she likes to do. I find that what you see on television and what you see portrayed as being successful people with autism, a lot of times have very good verbal skills, very much so at the high end of the spectrum. Jacqueline's verbal skills are limited. She can tell you what she wants, basic things that she wants, and if a word is not in her script, just as somebody's cell phone brings up an automatic word here and there, if that word is not in Jacqueline's script, she does not know how to respond to that. And then the frustration begins, and then sometimes the behavior. As you see her, this is her forte, what she's doing right now, and I'm not going to draw attention to it because then she'll probably close it up and put it away. The most difficult part of her world is socialization. She's comfortable, she's social when she wants to be social. And that's the best that I can ask of her, because they used to push it and push it and push it and saying she has to be social. But the older she got and the more I saw her get frustrated with it, the more I realized that there are lots of people in this world that aren't very social.
Absolutely.
They either do things that they choose careers out there that don't involve having to be social. And so I don't see that there's a whole lot wrong with that. But the only real way that people learn about this population is if they've worked with them or if they have family members. And that's true of any walk of life. We need to educate people. It's kind of a cruel world out there. And the more other people are exposed to them, the more they learn about them. And until that point in time, I don't know of any parent or any advocate out there that wants to put our population of people in harm's way. And by throwing them just out into the community without considering each person's individual needs, I just think that's just a totally wrong situation.
Carrie Saddleberg, another Woodlands student, and her parents are also thankful for Woodlands.
Carrie went to Woodlands since she was 3 and left at 26. She does horseback ride on Thursdays at a program for special needs, and she loves that. She goes out with her friends sometimes on maybe one day a week or whatever, and goes bowling or movies or something like that. But other than that, she's home with me all day.
She was a little over a year old when we first started. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about is with her. About a year or so of age, we started noticing some deteriorations. Actually had a diagnosis at about age 2, and has had a variety of health issues over the years, but actually is doing quite well.
Carrie
for
has
some
a
years.
disease called RIT, R-E-T-T. It affects girls, but she was born healthy. Did everything up to about a year and a half. She was feeding herself, walking, talking, and then we started noticing a digression. So that's when we started trying to, and then finding a doctor that believed that something was wrong. And then she was diagnosed with RIT, which they do now say affects men or boys too, but most of the time it's a disease that only affects girls, and they start digressing. So as the older she gets, the worse off she gets. So now she's total care, where she used to walk along things and feed herself, hold her own bottle when she was little. Those are all tasks that she can't do anymore. So Carrie did have a CLS worker, which is community living supports. And since the beginning of the year, I no longer have her. And it has been very, very hard to find someone to take her out. One, it needs to be someone that can lift her into a car and take her back out. Her wheelchair's heavy, and most people aren't willing to do that. So she has 2 sisters. One has a family and one's 25, and they help, but we don't have anyone, and it's been a very hard struggle to find someone, one, that can keep her safe, and 2, that would be willing to lift her and maybe take her to the movies, the mall, or whatever. So right now we don't have anyone other than her family.
Right.
Yeah, people have no idea how hard it is to even go out. I mean, if Carrie didn't have her sisters, we wouldn't have date night. We wouldn't be able to go to a wedding. There's so many things we couldn't do without counting on them. And as parents, you never want to burden your children. But it's a tightrope all the time. And the older we get, the harder it gets.
Yeah, it's
you know.
creeping up on us.
Yeah. So we take each day as it comes.
Having Woodlands as an option has made such a great impact on these families' lives. But where is their future? Christine and Whitney Barden don't actually have a diagnosis but are severely cognitively impaired. Like Jacqueline, they are nonverbal. Their mother, Sue, has a hard time imagining what their future will be.
Some of the jobs are just right there in the building at Community Enterprise. This one likes to wash tables, so she spends a lot of time washing the tables. They have gone into job sites like a church, and they vacuum and things like that, but they do have to have somebody right there with them, doing it with them. They need a lot of redirecting and verbal prompts. So it's something that requires a lot of supervision. They knew that's very important for them to have a routine, to have structure, and I would not want them to be sitting at home because they do need to have that structured routine. I don't quite know I want them to live somewhere where I know they're being well taken care of, where the people that are working with them truly care about them, and it's people with integrity, and I think that's the thing that it just hangs over me daily. It's just always this cloud over my head that I haven't resolved it in my mind where they're going to go, and I'm 61 now, so I'm no spring chicken. Thank you. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. I need to start looking, I know, and but it's a very difficult decision. I guess I just want to say that our kids are not all like little cookie cutter kids. Just like in regular school, in life with normal adults that go to jobs. We all learn differently. We all respond differently. We all have our strengths and our weaknesses. And a job that fits me won't necessarily fit you because of my interests and my, my desires and my goals. I think that we have to always look at them as individuals and see, what they have to contribute. And not to say that it's any less than anyone else, but they do need the supports and they need to, there needs to be choices because we're all different and they have their uniqueness and, I just would like to know that there's choices out there for them.
As diverse as the DD population is, we need to assure realistic choices and options for them. As we parents age, our loved ones will continue to move on. We need safe environments and reliable direct care staff. We want integration into our communities, but not at the expense of our children's health and safety.